One was Netflix that has 325 million subscribers, that if they had basically acquired WBD, would have been twice the size of the nearest competitor. With us, when you put basically HBO Max and Paramount Plus together, once you dedupe for the overlap, you're a little bit under 200 million subscribers. To contextualize, Disney's 195 million subscribers, Amazon's 200. That creates a healthier ecosystem. That gives consumers more choice in terms of what they want to pay for. It's going to be a significantly beneficial content offering that they're going to get.
The $110+ billion merger agreement between Paramount Global and Warner Bros. Discovery has been quite a contentious situation. Nevertheless, beyond the seemingly political noise, the merger has secured major regulatory wins, including federal approval from the U.S. Justice Department and the international clearance from the European Union and their second largest market, China. Furthermore, the Warner Bros. Discovery shareholders have approved the merger agreement, with Paramount Global willing to take on Warner Bros. Debt. With the major domestic and international victories, you would assume that the agreement would advance as planned. The European Union, notorious for strict market regulations and compliance standards, approving this merger so easily only goes to show the positive benefits the merger will have on market competition and job creation. Still, it is not so simple when politics gets involved. State attorneys general from 12 U.S. states, led by California, and including the likes of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Colorado, and New York, are filing suit in federal court in order to block the merger altogether. Their reasonings and motivations include the Ellison family's ties to the Trump administration and loose arguments about the anti-competitive nature of the agreement. Then there has been pushback from within Hollywood itself, with some high-profile actors opposing the merger, such as Mark Ruffalo. While the political and Hollywood elites claim monopoly concerns, they seemingly choose to ignore the dynamics of the very industry they are seeking to save. The facts paint a very different story. The streaming and entertainment industries are, and I quote, saturated with major players that can afford to spend massive amounts of money protecting their turf. Last year, streaming giants Disney, Amazon, and Netflix spent $23 billion, $22 billion, and $18 billion respectively, just on content. That is roughly twice the total annual revenue that Warner Bros. Discovery's entire streaming business generated last year, and 10 times the total earnings of Paramount's streaming service. End quote. Taking these numbers into consideration, I do not know how anyone could argue that the Paramount Global Warner Bros. Discovery merger would even get close to creating a monopoly. Then there is the legal precedence of what a monopolistic and anti-competitive company actually is, with these state AGs seemingly ignoring. I quote, under the Supreme Court's ruling in United States v. Philadelphia National Bank, 1963. Mergers that result in a company with a market share of 30% or greater are presumptively anti-competitive. Paramount and Warner Bros. Discovery's combined market share, measured by percent of total streaming subscribers, is 22%, well under the Philadelphia National Bank threshold. End quote. That market share may even be below 22% as their competitors continue to grow and expand the content and subscriber bases. With the pro-competitive aspects of the merger being completely silenced in a coordinated smear campaign, real jobs are on the line. That is where other state AGs and industry experts are coming to the defense. As a National Review article stated, and I quote, as former Utah Attorney General Sean Rees observes, Paramount Warner Bros. Discovery could attract new customers through its complementary intellectual property portfolios and thereby stabilize streaming prices, drive new content investment, and compete more effectively for creators and talent, precisely the kind of pro-competitive outcome the consumer welfare standard is designed to permit. End quote. In addition, industry experts like the AMC Theaters CEO Adam Aron argue that, and I quote, "It is critical to the industry's future that this transaction be completed as soon as possible so that we all can build on the momentum that finally, after 6 tough years only recently, has been established." For that to happen, though, the legal challenge from a group of possibly well-intentioned state attorneys general must be overcome. Traditional movie studios and independent filmmakers are no longer competing only with one another, but also with enormous technology companies who can treat filmed entertainment as one product line inside a much larger subscription advertising, hardware, or e-commerce machine. That kind of intense competition won't happen if companies like Paramount and Warner Bros. Discovery are forced to struggle along as sub-scale competitors, which is exactly what will happen, in our view, if their merger is blocked. The AG's lawsuit argues, in part, that the merger needs to be prevented to protect companies like mine. Well, thanks. But no thanks. Their complaint simply gets the economics of our business backwards. End quote. I am a proponent of stringent market regulations and compliance standards in order to protect industry competition, job opportunities, and consumer interests. One of my favorite presidents is Theodore Roosevelt because of his work to dismantle harmful monopolies and outlaw harmful practices that harmed consumer health. We have the Food and Drug Administration because of him. With that said, obviously business practices can harm market competition, but also government overreach can as well. These state AGs may very well be well-intentioned, as the AMC Theaters CEO asserted, but just like him, I take issue with their actions. Instead of looking at the industry dynamics, established antitrust legislation and precedents, and all the arguments, they have coalesced in order to gain national attention as checks against the current federal administration. While their intention to provide a check and protect consumers is well-intentioned, their actions are actually threatening to frustrate and ultimately destroy a fragile merger that many experts agree provides healthy market competition and consumer choice. The verdict is, the merger between Paramount Global and Warner Bros. Discovery is not anti-competitive and monopolistic. The merger itself is a survival move between two sub-scale companies looking to compete against larger and more resourceful competitors. I urge these state AGs to come to the table with Warner Bros. Discovery and Paramount, just as every other regulator has done, including the European Union, and negotiate a settlement that both sides can agree to. The attempt from the state AGs, however, may very well be to frustrate the merger in court in order to draw out the process and take it to the extreme and draw out the time it takes to complete it, knowing very well that the merger will get approved in the end. I repeat, the attempt from the state AGs, however, may very well be to frustrate the merger in court in order to draw out the process and time it takes to complete it, knowing very well that the merger will get approved in the end. Again, I am fully behind regulated capitalism that seeks to limit ill practice from corporations. However, I am not for the government overplaying their hand to manipulate legal transactions to achieve a certain market competition that benefits their side. Business must follow regulations and consumer protection legislation, which the Paramount Warner Bros. Discovery merger does, and the government must learn when to step out of the way to prevent itself from becoming the anti-competitive force in the equation.